Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so welcome to another interview with the Animatrix Festival, Director's Interview with Animatrix Festival 2021. We are very happy to have Nadja Andrasev and Nunu Leszynska with us. So, who wants to go first? Please introduce yourself shortly and maybe and your film that you have in the festival. Who wants to go
You
first?
can go.
You can go. Okay.
Okay. Uh, so hi, my name is Nunu, and I am a Polish director, but currently I am based in France. Yet my film is actually produced half British, half Portuguese, and is called Ahead. And as maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't, but the title is a very funny pun because one of the characters doesn't have a head.
Interesting, intriguing. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, I've seen it. It's yeah, I have to say it's wonderful. It's really, I really like the style and how it's animated and how
There's
it's really kind of also the story is very surreal. So, was this your like a student film, or did you do it or professional film? Did you do like a co-production or?
So this was actually my first year film at Royal College of Art, the animation program, but I haven't finished the course. And this film was being finished a bit more independently, and I got in contact with this Portuguese production cooperative that I am part of now, Collab, and yeah, we finished it there, and finally we managed to premiere it on festivals in 2019.
Okay, okay. Yeah, wonderful to hear. And then, yeah, I have to say that, yeah, I kind of really enjoy this kind of surreal animation. And then you've done, because I haven't seen other works from you. So, was this the first time you were doing like hand-drawn animation, or is this the kind of technique that you prefer, or have you done other techniques as well?
I try to always play around with various approaches and techniques, but I am still kind of oscillating around the frame by frame animation, whether it's digital or hand drawn or stop motion. But somewhere always there's more of a sleek motion aspect of it. Like I really like in betweens.
Okay, great. Yeah, and tell us about if you can. So you've studied in Royal College of Art. So how was that experience? Because there's so many like these years that I've been like selecting films for this or programming the animatrix. We have so many great animations from like Royal College of Art, and there's always something like really interesting about them. So please tell us about that.
I'm not the best advertisement for Royal College of Art because I haven't finished the course. As I said, I had to leave it due to uh, living in London came turned out to be a very intense, emotionally, financially, and in every possible aspect way. And so I started. Working more in a freelance way with international productions, and so this is where I am right now from then. But the school what gave I met loads of incredible people, and I still keep meeting people because I was accepted to RCA, and sort of it's an there are always, like those Facebook groups or whatever, like, oh, this is the RCA kid who left. And yeah, so it's been a great pleasure to be accepted there. And I'm really glad that with all of the, let's say, connections that I made and keep making, and hopefully will keep making.
Okay, great. And yeah, because I know like so many other students, they also basically they just it's really nice. Of course, the students are great, and then the fact that they give you like so much sort of freedom to work and develop your own style of making animation. So I heard like that is like really good that they one of the reasons that they make so many good films over there. I think really different from what's in Britain because a lot of the disciplines in Britain are so that they kind of want to just make professional animators for bigger companies and for bigger productions or something like that. But have you also studied somewhere else? Can you tell us about that?
So I did my BA in Poland, 3 years in my hometown Poznań, and it's been a great experience. But it's been always like very artistic approach, and so we as students were really looking forward to getting all of that technical knowledge that we were all really worried about. Like, will we ever be hired? Will we ever survive? But it turns out it wasn't that bad, and yeah, then I tried RCA, and then I tried another school. Uh, but I must admit, at this point I think I have to admit to myself that my higher education is over, and I just shouldn't try again. I tried La Poudrière in France, in Valence. But this was a completely different approach than RCA. They are very much preparing you to be able to enter a very, very specific French animation industry. And so it is a very, and this is the sort of thing that I see every day among my friends who are in the industry here. French animation system is incredible because it gives you loads of opportunities to finance your films, but at the same time, it is very bureaucratic and requires you. There is not much space for experimentation. You need to have the answer for every little bit that happens in your film. And since my approach mostly is coming up with ideas, and then in this process of sort of like without using words, and just coming up with images, and then trying to understand why I came up with those images, trying to name them to myself, and trying to narrow it all down in order to make sense on both the level of intuitive level and the more semantic conscious level. I'm not the best fit to the system.
Yeah, but this sounded interesting to hear like, how your process works. So yeah, you're not one of these people who would write a script first or do a storyboard first. You would just go from the other way around, maybe.
Yes, the storyboard the storyboard. The script is happening during the process, and of course it's wonderful to. Well, I am not going completely freestyle ever, but just like the initial ideation is always very much coming up from just creating imagery and trying and placing them together. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's quite interesting. So you're residing in France right now. So what is next for you? Do you already know what is your next project going to be?
Right now, I am applying. I am. So I am a part of this international sorry, I heard the echo of myself and got distracted. I'm part of the international cooperative production, COLA, which is we are sort of a production company, but to be honest, we're more of we all own the company, and we're just a bunch of people who want to make things happen. And so, like past year, I've been doing a little bit of more producing type of work with trying to helping out with getting a film of Joao Gonzalez, another RCA kid, and to happen, and we're hoping to finish this film this year. Also, I am very happy to say that I managed to get a co-production going with Poland, with my favorite director duo that I basically started working in animation because of them, Kijek Adamski, and yeah, so I've been jumping from project to project, doing a little bit of art directing here, a little bit of directing here, a little bit of animating here, a little bit of paperwork here, and now finally I'm getting back to being to working on autorial films, and we are hoping to have something small released this year, and something bigger with which we'll be applying for funding next year.
Okay, yeah, wonderful. No, actually, you got so many exciting projects going on, and actually, Joao Gonzalez, his other film, I mean, his film Nestor is in our competition, and that's also I love that. It's so thrilling, and the way it's made is so intense. It's so, and I noticed, yeah, that's also made in RC. I think that's his graduation film.
Yeah, actually, so the film we are doing right now, and actually, I stopped animating to call you to his next film is Ice Merchants, and yeah, we hope so. It should premiere early next year. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, because it's Portuguese and you do also are active in Portugal. But so this sounds great because we have like two films that I absolutely love that you get together and work on it. I can't wait for it. Wonderful.
Also,
Yeah, yeah, no, that's wonderful. And also Poland. We have like so many from Poland, from mostly from which film school. So many films as well, and actually other films from Poland. And yeah, and who was today? No, today I was speaking to Elizaveta Pismak, who's from Ukraine originally, but then studied there, and we were talking about the atmosphere over there. And yeah, so many creative directors and people over there. So wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. So maybe we continue with Nadia for a while.
cheers.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi. So my name is Nadja Andrasev, and I directed Symbiosis, which is about a woman who is stalking her husband's mistresses and becomes quite curious about them in this process. So her emotions change in the film, and what was I gonna say? Yeah, I was going to reflect. Sorry, I was going to reflect on your film too, because I think I realized that I probably saw a piece of it on TikTok. Is it true? Because actually, both of our films were made with this small video on TikTok by the same girl, and
Yes.
we are at something like 700,000 views, and like crazy amount of like I don't even know, so many comments and so many likes, and a lot of young people watched my film on YouTube because they found this TikTok video, and it's crazy. Like there's a new audience for my film among this generation of TikTok users, and I think I realized this is probably true because in my film there's a lot of voyeurism and stalking and like women comparing themselves to other women. And I think I don't know, I think this Facebook generation or newer generation of social media, young people can totally relate to this. So it's really, it's been really funny. And I'm really amazed by this.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I mean, yeah, and I'm quite surprised because it's kind of like your film is very slow paced. So I was thinking like, yeah, maybe like teenagers and this kind of a TikTok generation, they wouldn't like it so much. I mean, it's otherwise a really beautiful film, but I mean, just the pacing is quite surprising. But that's wonderful. So basically, and then they first made like a remix. Did they mix did they make like a trailer for both of your films?
She
Okay.
made like a new version of her films. For me, it's sped up and it's to the music of Mitski. So it's totally different sound and it's speed up, and even the dramaturgy is a little bit different, but a lot of young people love it.
Wow.
Same thing here with me. I actually just like I just saw a big influx of people coming to see my film and just like wondering where are they coming from, and then I learned like, oh, there is like TikTok is actually like is gonna be part of your life now. Yeah, and but it is very interesting, like at least for me, because it's this is the first place where I saw my film remixed into this like sad music. But then I started finding that people have been doing it also like on YouTube, and we've been and it's like very interesting because it's sort of like remixing, as in like retelling your story in their own way, what was, you know, like important to them. And for like with my film, I'm the most happy that with the response of people and all of the stories that they tell about this film. And so this is something I don't understand, but I'm super excited. So and back to you, Nadia.
Yeah. No, but it is interesting, and then yeah, and then if you then like you can also compare her music to the music that is in your film. Then, and if it's really bad in your film, then it's like, okay, I'm gonna hire her next to do
I know the music in my film is, I think, great. I really love my composer, so I'm not going to hire Mitski, and I can't afford her either.
Who is your
So, but
composer actually?
my composer is Mats Vatsvold. He lives in Denmark, but because Symbiosis is a French-Hungarian co-production, so my sound designer was Peter Benjamin Lukács, who's a really talented sound designer, and he's Hungarian, but the composer was from Denmark because our new productions, the French co-production company, was suggesting a few people to me, and he was one of them, and I really love like what he's done. So I think usually it's complemented.
Yeah, because I mean the sound is yeah, the sound is great, and I really liked it. And I was going to ask you because I also saw your previous film, which was The Sound of Licking, and I would say like that you really like the kind of same kind of soundscape and style and kind of like pacing of the story. I think it's like sort of like slow paced and then very kind of sensual. I really liked it. And that is yeah, and it has this really kind of wonderful atmosphere that you pay a lot of attention to this, that you create this really kind of relaxing environment for the viewer, and you kind of get like submerged in that environment. And I think you're really good at creating this environment. And I have to say that the thing I liked more about Symbiosis was that you even had more of these kind of textures and like characters and scenery, and then you were kind of playing with those kind of things even more. So I think kind of similar concept, but it took it much further. Or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think I I prefer Symbiosis in some ways. Of course, I think the two films are in some ways similar and in many ways different. So Symbiosis is definitely more like about me, like it's more me. Um, Even the story, it's more an original story than the noise of licking. But yes, I think in both films I prefer to use some kind of like perverted, sensual feeling in many cases, like licking things and touching. So this is important. But in Symbiosis, because it's a mixed technique and some of it is digital animation and some of it is stop motion, and we actually did shoot some real fur and real human hair and things like that. So I really wanted to have this more tactile feeling, especially because our main character is collecting things in the film. So I figured that it would make a lot of sense to have this mixed technique for her collection and just kind of like it's a lot of times it's like unexpected for the audience. I think like when you see real women like photographed in the film, but I think it's not really a dramaturgical reason. It's more like we were just experimenting with some things, and I really like the result, and that's why it is.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
that was my question.
yeah, it certainly looks great. You said collecting, yeah, but it didn't have anything to do with the other film called the Collector, Ruben Brandt, the other Hungarian film. Yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, interesting. This, yeah, and I have to ask because so many we've had like so many good films from Mome, like at least in the last like 5 years, and then quite many of them are made like directed by women, and I was thinking like the one thing that I mean, I guess like the stories are different, but then the visual style seems to be quite similar, at least in terms of the color, with like you and Lutza Toth and maybe Recobucci, and also there is this, is it Anna Lovrati, plus
In Lovich.
yeah, and Flora Anna Buddha also, which we have in the competition. So is it? I'm just thinking, like, is this something that do you collaborate, or do you kind of critique each other, or collaborate, or like do you have like kind of interaction with each other at all, or not?
Yeah, we have lots of interaction, and there is this group of like ex-students from MoMA who are like, we are a group of friends, and actually all of these people you just mentioned, they all worked on my film. I made sure to invite all of my friends who I admire their creativeness and their visual or their directing style, and I had help from all of them basically. Some were only like cast in some scenes where I needed to photograph women, and actually Flora Nabuda was she was one of my lead like she was my lead background artist. So the visual style for Symbiosis is definitely, it has a big impact by Flora. But actually, I previously have thought about this, like why people say that our films look similar, because I don't really think they do, but at the same time, if I think about Royal College of Art, like which I used to admire RCA when I was a freshman, and and yes, there is a difference. Like maybe films from MoMA are more colored in full. Like I don't know how to explain, but maybe there is just like the full image is colored and not just like line animation. I think that might be a big difference, but I don't know. Like I think we are all inspired by each other, but not as in like stealing from each other.
Mhm.
So we are just like, I admire all of these animation directors in Hungary, and I think that's why at the end of the film, well, should I? Is it a spoiler time? No.
No, you can talk about it. No, you can say it.
So,
No, it's fine.
there is a scene in my film when the wife is looking at like all these women just everywhere, and like they represent the mistresses of her husband, but at this point she's already like has a changed attitude towards them. She's not jealous, she's more like, it's more like about female solidarity and a mutual admiration for each other, and kind of like almost like loving your ex enemies. And I really wanted to make sure that I include in the videos, I include like all the women that I admire and like inspire me here. I had to leave some out because they all seem to be dark haired. So I had to I had to make sure to cut at some point and invite some of other of my friends who are like more blonder or something like that. But yes, this is a reflection on this phenomena that I really think that Hungarian animation right now, it's like really, it's an exciting time for all these like younger directors, and I also, I'm really proud that a lot of these directors are women. I think that's really cool, and I just hope that there will be more women on committees who give fundings as well, because that's not right now, it's not true yet. And so I really think that more jury members and more like funding committee members in Hungary and everywhere could be could be more female, in my opinion.
Yes, but that's the thing, because I think the visual, I think the colors are similar, but then the stories are of course very different. So I think there's this interesting like influence in them. But I think the other thing, which is I think like kind of prevalent in a lot of them, they have like lots of like it has a very kind of strong, which is wonderful, like this kind of like female point of view, and this kind of that I think I don't know what you think about that, but perhaps it has had this it has had a like a positive influence in the like Hungarian society, which at least to us seems a bit conservative, or at least politically what we hear from there.
Yeah, I think we are all trying to make films that are fighting for women and women's perspectives. I think it's really important, and I think maybe you find that there's a lot of like sexuality in our films, but it's also, I really think that it's been so long that a lot of male viewpoint have been shown, but not female. So I think all of these women are really like they find it's important to discuss like female, like women's pleasure and sexuality and masturbation and all these topics that could be taboo, but they shouldn't be at all. So
No,
I
I'm
think
glad.
there's a reason.
Yeah, I'm glad that there is this kind of tendency, and also you're doing it in the best possible way because, I mean, my interest, and actually we had like this screening Best of Mome, also like 2 years ago, and also we had, and basically I was saying whenever I've introduced the screening from let's say Poland and Hungary, I'm always telling them, because especially with Hungarian names, people don't know if it's a man or a woman, the name of the director. I put like it's on the screen, the names, but then you don't know which one it is. And I remember specifically with Hungary and Poland, I have said those that, by the way, those directors you see up there, there's like literally, and it's amazing that, sort of 8 out of 10 or sometimes 9 out of 10, selection, best of selections that we get from Poland and Hungary are actually women or female directors. So, I was like, we don't get this in Finland even, or like, in other countries where we have these kind of liberties and stuff like that. But then there seems to be this kind of really strong wave of like really talented like female directors coming from, at least from Hungary and Poland and some other countries as well. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm glad you're part of it. But how do you feel? Like, are you going to sort of continue in the same direction, or are you collaborating also with other female directors there?
I would be happy to collaborate, but I do have some plans that are really important to me. Like right now, actually, I'm working as a coordinator. I work a lot in production jobs in animation because I used to work in live action for many years before I joined the animation scene, and I was an assistant director in live action. So when I started studying animation, I was asked to do some production managing in animation, and that's how I earn money when I don't direct my own films, because I'm a terrible animator. Like in technical parts, I'm not good. And so right now I'm working on a feature animation as a coordinator, and I've been doing that for a year, and I'm still doing it for a few months. But afterwards, I would really love to get back to some personal projects, and they are not collaborations yet because I'm really there is some really important topic to me that I would really love to make in the next few years, but I'm really slow at making films. So if I start it next year, it's gonna take another, I don't even know how many years. So maybe in the meantime we can collaborate on smaller projects, but not big ones for now, I think, for me. Even though I would be happy to, because I'm sure, I think the way we collaborate more is that when one of us makes a film, the other, like they invite the others to work on the film in some capacity, and not like co-directing so much.
But can I ask, what is the feature film that you're working on? Is it a is it an animated feature film, or?
Yes, it's animated. It's called White Plastic Sky. It's a Slovakian, like Hungarian Slovakian co-production. So it will be great.
White Plastic Sky, yeah. So it will come out maybe next year, or do you know when it's going to be? Yeah, it sounds great.
I signed a non-disclosure agreement, but I'm sure hopefully next year, yes. I mean, it's gonna come out relatively soon.
Yeah, it's good because because I have to say that we'll probably mention it for those who don't know that Hungary, that's the amazing thing about Hungary, that although even nowadays there's maybe about just 10, 11 million people in Hungary, you've been like this center for animation and a lot of feature films since the 70s. And there's always been coming like good animation, and nowadays even like although like the big Pannonia Studios doesn't exist anymore, then like they've been replaced by other film studios who take a lot of international film projects, CGI projects and things like that. And so like it feels to me like in Hungary always there's something happening concerning like film and animation, and they don't really, you don't, it seems like you don't really care how few people you have. You just take on like just huge projects and do them so well. And so
Yes, but I do feel that for many years there was no feature animation done or funded, and actually it's going to be a problem again, I think, because like the film I'm working on, it originated from a funding system that's like an incubator system. I don't know if that makes sense, which is like more like a fresh style and lower budget, but then it became a co-production and it got the Orange funding. But now this system, they took out the animation from their funding. So because they realized animation is too expensive, so now they are only like, I think that now they are only funding animation that's more traditional, and I think it's going to be very difficult to receive funding for feature. So for like all the women that you mentioned, some of them do have feature projects that they are like they are like in advanced stages of their development, and they cannot really apply for funding in Hungary because nobody would give them money. And even for some short films, like it takes several years because we can only go to one funding system, and if they if it's only the same people sitting on those committees, the same older men, you might not be, you might not get funding for several years for the same project. So it's like it's kind of difficult.
that's
So co-productions are necessary usually.
yeah, that's what I thought, that then you have to do co-productions, which is a shame because yeah, that's what I was gonna say about the feature films, that you had that tradition for about 30 years, and then it kind of got destroyed maybe around 10, 15 years ago. So it was like really positive for me to see this Ruben Brandt Collector, which came out almost 2 years ago. And I remember I had a chat with the director and the producer, and they said that, I mean, it was such a hard project for us to do. They worked, I think, about almost 10 years to make it happen. Like the pre-production, I already started at least 8 years earlier. And they said that especially the funding was so difficult to get because we used to have this tradition in Hungary, and it used to be a system for funding it. But now in the 2000s, it was all gone, so they had to start from scratch and then get it going. But the thing is that the talent is there as long as there will be funding. Or what do you think about that?
Well, the talent is definitely there. I just hope that the talent doesn't go abroad to make films, like if you don't get I can't say anything because Symbiosis was partially funded in Hungary. So I, I was lucky, but if you cannot get funding for your film for several years, you are just gonna go to a French company and make your film in France, basically. And I would really hate to see this. Like, I would be sad to see all this talent being lost to like. I mean, I would be happy for them, but I think it's a loss for our country if we are not funding a younger generation of directors who are extremely talented.
Yeah, you have to start cooperating with Nunu here. So, yeah, because that's the way to go in Europe quite often, unless you're in France, or not even Britain works anymore for that for that purpose. You have to be in France, and if you're not in France, then you do co-productions, I suppose. So yeah, I think the funding seems to be difficult to get for like the feature films, but still I feel like there is a fair amount of feature animation coming from many different countries, and of course it's co-productions, but it is still happening every year. There is a few good ones from Europe, so I think a lot of them always have something to do with France, but I'm glad that it's kind of like it's spreading out, so it doesn't actually have to be just in France, or so, and yours, and also your film was partially funded by a French company, right?
Mine, yes. Miu Productions was the French co-producer, and yeah, I was gonna say that I made part of the film in Valence, so I know La Poudrière.
Ah, okay.
We spent there a few months, and the animation was done. A big chunk of it was done in France. So yes.
Yeah, and
Lot
then
of
Mew
fun.
is such a good distributor, right? We get like so many good films from different countries from Mew. They always kind of, yeah, they're
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, true. So, do you have any other thoughts, Sarah Nunu? You want to comment or say something else about your own films or projects, or are you hearing us? Yes.
I think I'm good.
Yeah, you're good. Okay. No, you explained so well. I mean, and I really like it. You're sort of like really methodical about your explanations and concepts. I think you got a really kind of like compact, good explanation over everything. And
I mean, I kind of wanna tap on the topic of women in animation in Poland
yes,
and in
please. Yeah.
Hungary, and it's but it's sort of like, because then again it's very interesting that all around the world the majority of students are girls usually in animation programs, but then on the million bucks production, they're on the decisive creative roles. There is between 2 to 14% of women, which is not even close to the sociological spread. But it's very curious because yes, indeed, there is a very big push for animation in Poland to make this sort of like female animation, which is like very much, especially in the Łódź Film School, it's very much about like body, aggression, eating soup, and I think that it is. I absolutely love the fact that there is this support for girls in animation from Poland, but also there are this sort of expectations for making Polish female animation, which accidentally I'm completely not laying even close to. So just to end on that topic.
Yeah, yeah, you're right about the fact that yeah, we talked about it with Elizaveta as well, and she was and we kind of like and she was agreeing that yeah, it's true that they kind of have a certain like strong and very critical tradition and a very serious and artistic films. So there is hardly any kind of comedy or something like some lighter animation coming from this film school. But then she said that,
I mean,
okay, but I did it. So, and then we started finding a few examples, but it's true that they take it almost too seriously, I think, in some ways, or too similar, the subjects, maybe.
it's again like I sort of like I on one point it looks good on paper and I'm very proud of it, but then again like when you look closer in the system, it is all sort of controlled by the same older guys who are being like, yes, come here, girl, show us your guts.
Yeah.
And yeah.
No, it's true, and they shouldn't, because that's the thing. Because I was actually asking about their teachers, because one of them I know is Piotr Milcharek, and I've met that guy. He's really funny and really kind of relaxed and wonderful, very talented teacher. And then she said that no, actually, I'm glad that the teachers and mentors that they have in Łódź is that they're not trying to restrict them, but it's like more up to maybe some kind of like outside expectations in a way that they're kind of pushing for certain types of films. But at least that at least the teachers are obviously like very talented, but then also they're very open-minded about, yeah.
I mean, at the same time, like the Me Too movement didn't go through Poland, and it's been moved in Łódź this year, but not in animation school, in the acting program and the filmmaking program. And I think it would be also good to focus on animation programs. And I don't want to be spreading any sort of misinformation and so on. I am also a person who finished another school, but I am just taking the opportunity that I am not in this country, saying that maybe we should talk about it.
Yeah, so you feel like yeah, there's been maybe too much about this Me Too movement, and that at least from the Polish side, and then also there was
No. That there wasn't. It didn't start, and it's only about to come. So yeah, it only is starting to come.
Yeah, and I suppose, and also because I saw this kind of collection of short animations related to this movement and this abortion thing, and in Poland and the Supreme Court decision. But was it? And also, was there also in Hungary? There was another project with sympathizing with that related to animation. So yeah. So was it? Do you?
Yes. Yes, there was there were a lot of like a group of, I think mostly students, who came together and made this film that was reflecting on the same subject. And yes, they were inspired by the Polish movement. And yes, so some of it is, yeah, you can see it here too. But I was going to reflect back on this like being forced to do anything. I would totally refuse. Like, I'm not, fortunately, I don't feel pressure to do any kind of topic, and I will definitely keep this liberty. Like, I don't feel that at MoMA there is anything like this, or that actually, yes, for the older men giving the funding, they are trying to avoid all these feminine or like feminist topics. So definitely not so good for funding, but yeah, I don't think that anybody should be forced to communicate something. Like, if I want to make just funny films about like rabbits, like, let me do that if that's what I want to do. And actually, what a problem in Hungary now is that most of the funding goes for historical films, not in animation, but in like live action. Everyone is basically suggested to use some kind of historical topic, and I'm sorry, but I'm not interested in this kind of filmmaking when only certain topics receive funding. So it goes for like feminist themes as well in my mind. Like, if somebody doesn't feel like always being the female filmmaker and having her films like, like put on a pedestal and like given like a female filmmaker awards, I don't think that it should be like that they have to participate in this. And yes, a lot of times people ask us women like what we think about like being a female filmmakers, and sometimes it's such a confusing thing to answer, because you go into this all kind of PC area or non-PC area where everything you say suddenly starts to feel like you are saying the wrong thing for somebody, and it's just like kind of like a difficult topic, I think, to talk about.
Yeah, and they kind of like assume roles for you, which obviously is really bad in that sense. But it's good to hear also from Hungary, because I know from MoMA, I know like Josef Fulop and Anaida Orosz, who also like worked in there. They are very open-minded, and that's what I've always like heard about like MoMA. That I know that is really good in that sense. But then interesting to know that again, then when you go to the feature films, then the funding is then there is restrictions in that side, which is interesting to here. And yeah, I suppose there is in like a lot of countries there seems to be this, but it's always interesting to hear that where it is. And but yeah, and also some other countries, like I think in Estonia, it's like in general they don't seem to, although they have such a good tradition with animation, it seems to be in the last few years they just sort of decided that they're not going to fund the animation for larger, at least for bigger projects, almost at all. So it's just going to be live action now because somebody on the top doesn't like animation, although they are doing fantastic work there all the time. So it seems to be like depending on the politicians and who they put in charge of the sort of cultural funding, there seems to be this kind of ups and downs in a lot of countries. But very interesting to get your take on your own country and related to your activities there. So you have wonderful, I have to say that you have wonderful cats over there. I was so entertained also sometimes watching the 2 or 3 going and back and forth over there. That was like an extra show back there.
They were full asleep when we started the conversation, but then they woke up and got hungry. So
Yeah. No, but that's interesting. You have wonderful house, so many plants there. It looks great. I can see where you get some of your inspiration, at least. Like it's his own like.
or sometimes your film inspires, like your film starts creeping into your life and not the other way around. That happens to me a lot, actually.
No, that's wonderful. Yeah, you like a wonderful apartment. Great. So you live in Budapest, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful. No, it's great. And because I know like most of the films, but but I think yeah, Floranda left. She's in Paris, I think now, because that's what's gonna had in
Laura, yes.
yeah.
She's in Paris now, and then she's gonna go to Cyclic at some point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, but hey, so thank you so much for your time, and wonderful to hear all your like comments and of this, you know, the situation and everything that you've done with your wonderful films is so great, and I really enjoyed watching them, especially you know during this pandemic. Is I feel like they're really refreshing and inspiring to watch, and sort of keep a lot of people from getting you know depressed and with these endless restrictions and things like that. So I'm really hoping you know by next year everything would be back to normal and we can sort of have you here in Finland. I mean, it's the summer and the nature in here is really beautiful. And right now, I mean, if you think about it, we have more than 20 hours of daylight, like maybe 22 hours of daylight already. And in a couple of weeks there will be no night at all. So everyone's just you know not sleeping and relaxing in the nature if they have time for it indeed. So yeah, so it would be wonderful to have you here at one point, and generally like to be back in the festivals, just sort of like physically as well. But
I would love that.
mm, but I hope you feel the same. Okay, thank you so much for your time, and you know, good luck with your projects, and have a wonderful summer. And I hope we meet soon.
Really looking forward to meeting you both in person at some point.
Okay, thank you, thank
Nice
you,
to meet you.
thank
Thank
you.
you
Nice to
so
meet you.
much.
Bye bye. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.